Hello once again to everyone. A very good evening to all of you. I hope you guys are doing well. Thank you so much for joining for the webinar. Sorry that the audio is starting 2 minutes late because I was trying to adjust this microphone input from the music to my actual microphone. So it took a couple of seconds. I'm so sorry for that. But let's get started. So I'm Luke, and I'm responsible for training and tech support for Asia Pacific region. The topics we are going to discuss for today's webinar will be about fixture building in grandMA3 software, the structure of attribute layer, and GDTF. First of all, some housekeeping stuff. So on the bottom left corner of your browser, you should see a pause button and a sound icon and a live button in the red color. If you want to watch the latest broadcast, try to make sure that live is red. Or the icon before live is red. If you missed something, you want to go back a little bit and you want to recap, you can also do that. And on the bottom right corner, you find CC, that is responsible for all subtitles. And next to that, there is a settings icon. If you click on it, then you will find some options as to change the subtitles to your local language. And then on the bottom right corner, you have the I, that is for info. And if you click on the I and then you click on the settings next to it, you should find, or if you click on the chat icon next to it, you should find some questions section where you can ask questions. If you go to my questions section on the bottom, first thing is you have to type your name, and then which is optional. I recommend that you type your name so that we know who we are talking with. But if you like to ask questions anonymously, that's absolutely fine as well. You can just give any name and you can ask your question, but we recommend that you type your name and your email address so that if we are not able to answer any of your questions in this webinar, then yeah, we will send these questions to your distributor, and your distributor will get in contact with you. And when you ask a question, take note that your question will not be immediately published. So don't worry if you don't see your question out there. I will only be publishing questions that I think are relevant for everyone. And then what do we have? Yeah, so I think that's pretty much it. By the way, I highly encourage that everyone would ask questions because yeah, I would like to answer them on live as much as possible if I can. If we cannot, then yeah, we will get back to you. So I highly recommend that you ask as many questions as possible about fixture building. Hello from Indonesia. Hi, hello there. Hello, Mr. Harsha. Thank you so much for joining us. So we will get the webinar started. So before I begin with the webinar, I would like to set the prospect of this webinar, the expectations, in other words. Firstly, although it may not be obvious by now, you may have noticed that I'm using the software version 1.1.3.2. This is because while I was preparing for this webinar, all the documents and show files were built on this one. So and as one of the biggest lessons in life tell us, do not update your console before the show. So, and I believe this is my show, and I'm not going to use the latest software version, which, if you're not aware of it, we have released the new software 1.1.4.2. But I highly recommend that you guys try it out in your spare time and let us know about your findings. And the developers are working real hard to work on the reports that you submit us through your distributors. Secondly, do not expect that you will learn the art of fixture building in the next 1 hour, because this topic can get quite intense depending on the intricacy of a complex fixture as well as simple fixtures alike. Why do I say that simple fixtures can also get complicated? Because you can build a simple six-channel fixture, but it's probably something whose dimmer is tied then to its strobe. If you're thinking, how is this possible? How can dimmer and strobe be together in the same Dmx channel? You're probably too young for this, but this was how Claypacker's Golden Scan HPE, my first intelligent fixture, was ever built. So you see, a simple fixture can also get quite a little complicated when you're intertwining Dmx channels together. So this is the reason learning the architecture of fixture building can take quite a long time. But what we will learn is we will learn how to create a simple dimmer, a parcan in grandMA3. Don't worry, we're not going to stop there. Followed by that, we will also be learning about building a simple moving head. Let's say this moving head will be something about I'm in a show scenario, or I'm preparing for my show. I have a couple of hours or a couple of days, and I want to just build a fixture file that just works with my grandMA3 software, and with the fixture that I have in front of me, you can use this method. And then if you want to get a little creative and want to add some cosmetics to your fixture, we will also do that. So once we are having a fixture file that is working, then we will move on to a fixture file that has a little 3D body, so that we can also see the fixture in the 3D window. We will then learn about how to build this same moving head, about building the same moving head in GDTF Fixture Builder. Then we will see how we can import it into grandMA3 software. Would it work? I have no idea, but we will give it a try. We will see if we would face any challenges, and we will see how to fix them. And then in the end, I really hope we would have enough time for this, and we would discuss about the structure of grandMA3's attribute layer. So without any ado, let's begin. I see your messages, Johan. Hello, brother. Thank you so much. So let's keep the chat for questions. I wouldn't mind if you're saying hello. It's very nice to receive some messages, but let's ask any questions that you may have. It's good to know that there are so many people attending the webinar. Thank you so much for joining us once again. With the technology that's always evolving, we see more and more fancy things in a fixture. I mean, look at where the industry started. Let me bring up my browser. So, like I was saying, our industry is constantly growing, and there are more and more fancy stuff in the things that we are using. I mean, look at where we started. We had the parcan with just one channel, where you were magically able to decrease and increase the intensity, but then we didn't stop there. Then we had fixtures like these ones. We're looking at the TTS core here, and then we had fixtures from Martin and all the moving head manufacturers, where you are able to do some relatively more complex stuff, which is you are able to move the fixture, you are able to change the color of the fixture, you are able to add a gobo to this, and it was relatively more complicated than to what we started from here. And then we had a little bit more complicated fixtures like these ones, where you had a foreground color and a background color. And then we had further more complicated fixtures, where this was able to give you control up to each pixel. I mean, you were able to change the color and dimmer of each pixel. The first time I heard of this was completely magical. And then we have fixtures like these, and then we have beasts like these ones, where let me see if I can scroll down to the right section. So these fixtures, I mean, look at this. On one side, you are able to use it like a proper fixture, and on the other side, it's literally a proper LED panel. I think, if I'm not mistaken, these were used by Foo Fighters in one of their tour, or probably it was a Magic panel. But then look at where we're going. I mean, and then look at this fixture. That is this technology, at least, let's say, the Spot Me. This was able to send the signal, the XYZ signal, back into the console, so that the console can then track the moving heads and point them at the same place. I mean, you see, the fixtures are getting complicated and complicated. This is nice. I mean, it's nice that the technology is evolving. It's nice because at the end of the day, this is making our shows look better and nicer. But see, the thing is, with the evolution of the complexity in fixtures, there comes also a demand for a platform that allows us to build simple fixtures as well as complex fixtures. This means when I want to build a fixture with just one channel, I shouldn't be too worried about the 4 billion and quarter features that are available in my fixture builder. At the same time, if I want to build a fixture that is extremely detailed and has about 500 features, I shouldn't be limited to what I can do. So we need a fixture builder that can satisfy or justify or satisfy both of these extremities. And for this reason, we have the grandMA3 fixture builder. But before I jump into the grandMA3 fixture builder, let's first take a look at the most important part of a moving head. Let's take a look at the structure of a basic structure of a moving head. Let me switch to my PPT in just a second. By the way, I'm not sure if you are able to hear. It's currently raining thunderstorms in Singapore here. So I hope you are able to look at the PPT here. So let's try to understand the basic structure of a moving head. So a moving head can be, in simple terms, can be divided into 4 different parts. You have the base of the moving head, and then you've got the yoke. This part is called as the yoke, and then you've got the head, and then you have the beam. Now, what is base responsible for is base is responsible for all the mechanism, which is where probably the heart of the moving head sits normally. And then you've got the pan that is responsible for, you've got the yoke that is responsible for pan. Now, some might argue that, wait, pan is actually controlled in the base. That's true. The mechanism of pan is definitely in the base, but we are not looking at building a real fixture. We're talking about the 3D perspective of a moving head. When you're looking at the 3D perspective of a moving head, which of these 4 parts is actually doing the pan action? It's obviously the yoke. So this part that we call as yoke is doing the pan action. And then we've got the head, which I would call as where the whole magic is happening. I mean, the dimmer, the red, green, blue colors, color wheel, gobo wheel, your prism, tilt, and everything, and the rest of the action, I would say, is happening in the head. And then we have the beam. Now, you might be wondering, wait, I said the dimmer is in head, but then we have a beam. Then what is beam responsible for? Well, when we are trying to look at the fixture from a 3D perspective, the beam is normally responsible for something like pixels or instances. So when you have a moving head, again, like one of the examples that I was showing earlier, which is the Martin Mac 2000, it's got a foreground color and a background color. So when you're dealing with fixtures which has these pixels or instances, then that is when you would make use of the beam. But that said, every fixture obviously has a beam. Now let's switch back to my grandMA3 software. So now that we have learned the basic structure of a moving head, let's go back to our software and let's start with some basics. First of all, let me take a new show file and then we can get started. I'm going to call this show file as hello. So simple. I already named a show file with hello, so I'm going to call it as 1, 2, 3. I've already. Okay, let's just type fixture building, and I'm going to say load. So that's a new show file that I have here, and now I am going to go to menu and then go to patch and close this box, and then let's go to the fixture types over here. Again, what we're doing right now is we're going to build a simple fixture, something as simple as a par can. So let's try and do that. So once I come to fixture types, I'm going to click on insert the new fixture type, and I can right click here if I'm using a mouse or on PC, or I can just click on insert new fixture type. First of all, let's give it a name. Obviously, when I'm building my own fixture, I want to give it a name. So I'm going to say Luke par. And then the name doesn't matter, but it's important that you give some name. So once we have this fixture, this empty fixture which has nothing in it, let's go ahead and click on edit. Now, once you come into this edit of the fixture type that you just created, you will be greeted with the Dmx modes. Now, you'll find a lot of tabs here. You'll find something called attribute definitions, wheels, physical descriptions, and so on and so forth. But don't worry. The first thing that you will be greeted with is the Dmx modes. So let's stay in Dmx modes. Is simple to is similar to like in a moving head, you would have Dmx modes. You would have standard, vector, extended mode, and so on. So yeah, that's what Dmx modes mean. And in our case, when we're building a Parcan, we don't really need Dmx modes. So we can just make use of the default Dmx mode that there is. So I'm just going to click over here, open. By the way, make sure that this should be working now. I'm very sorry for this problem. We had some issue with the Microsoft service. I mean, the internet itself is working perfectly fine. I'm actually using a LAN connection, not even a Wi-Fi. So I'm very sorry for this problem. Let's get started. Let's not waste any time on this. So I'm not sure where the live has stopped. As far as I can see, it has stopped at creating a new fixture. So I'm going to go back, I'm going to delete it, and let's get started once again. So what I would do now is so let's get started with creating a new fixture. So first of all, once you come here, let's click on insert new fixture type, and then let's give it a name. Like I said, it's not really important to give a name, but it's always nice to have a label for your object. So let's say Luke bar. Again, what we're trying to do here is we're trying to build a simple fixture. We're trying to learn how to build a simple Parcan. We will see what kind of options we are given, and we will see from that how to build a simple fixture. So once you have this, let's go ahead and click on edit. And like I was saying, we have different tabs over here. Once you get into the editing fixture type, you've got attribute definitions, you've got wheels, physical descriptions, and so on and so forth. Don't worry about all of this. The first thing that you'll be greeted with is the Dmx modes itself. Now, obviously, you should know what Dmx modes is. What Dmx modes are basically when you have a moving head, or the moving head would have you would have different modes, like a standard mode, an extended mode, or a vector mode, and so on and so forth. So that's what Dmx modes would mean. Since in this case we are just building a Parcan, we don't really need many. We don't really need any modes. I'm just going to stay with the default mode. So first of all, try and make sure that you are having the new object line and the merge children enabled so that we can see all the options. Now, once you have that, what we do is we open this section over here, and then the next thing that you will be greeted inside a Dmx mode is the Dmx channels, relations, and FT macros. We won't be worrying about these two, but let's go ahead and click on the Dmx channels because we want to have some Dmx channels over here. So once I click on the Dmx channels, you will this is where you will get the option of adding Dmx channels. Okay, cool. So like I was saying, we've got the Dmx channels here. This is where we would add our Dmx channels. In this case, I just need one Dmx channel, so I'm just going to stay with this. And what I would do is, if you scroll to the right a little bit, you would find a header with attribute Alex Fu. Yes, all good now. Thanks a lot for confirming, Alex. So let's go back here. And then you would find, like I said, you would find one Dmx channel, and you would find the attribute section over here. In the attribute tab, what I would do is right click, and then let's add our attribute, which is the dimmer in this case. Once you do that, let's come back and give it a Dmx address, which is in course. So I will click here and say 1. So that's all you have to do. Again, if you had any networking issues, I'll just repeat it for one quick second in 30 seconds, hopefully. Let's go ahead and delete it, insert new fixture type, give it a name, and let's edit that fixture and we have the Dmx modes. We don't need really a Dmx mode, so we're just going to stick with the default one. And in the default Dmx mode, you've got Dmx channels, relations, and FT macros. For today's webinar, we'll just stick with the Dmx channels. And in the Dmx channels, which is where you would have to add all your Dmx channels, I just need one Dmx channel, so I won't be adding anything else here. For this one Dmx channel that we have, if you scroll all the way to the right, you've got the attribute that is, which is where I would add my attribute, which is dimmer. So I'm going to select dimmer, and on the left we have the course, and on the course we would give our the Dmx channel. Because it's an 8-bit channel that I'm building it for, I'm just going to say course, which is 1. So once you have that, let's close this. That's all you need to do to build a simple parcan. So parcan, or maybe you are looking to build a simple fixture with a couple of channels so that you can test the moving head, the strange moving head that's in front of you. So you can also use it for that. So once you have this, let's close this as well. And now we are back to patch. Now, once you are here, if you say insert new fixture, what would happen is you will see that, okay, first thing is you will see your fixture that you built. In the current show, you will see the fixture that you built. But on the right, it says Dmx footprint is 0. What it's trying to tell us is that this fixture has no Dmx channels. That's not true. I just added a Dmx channel. This is in a way, again, this is in a way a small bug because your show file is not actually initialized. So to initialize my show file, what I will do is I won't patch anything at the moment. I will close this tab. I will close this tab as well, and I'm going to save these changes. So now when I open it back, in some way I have initialized my show file. And now if I click on insert new fixture, then you will find your fixture with one Dmx footprint. And then, yeah, that's the fixture. We can go ahead and select it. Take note that this is just for the moment in the current software version. We select this fixture and then we say select. And yeah, the name is fine. Quantity 1, the fixture ID, the patch, and so on. So I'm just going to say apply. So we have our fixture here, and I'm going to close this and save changes. Yes, of course. So once that is done, I'm going to delete all the built-in views that come along with the empty show file because I won't be needing all of them. So delete view through, please. Oops. Through over there. So delete view through. So let's go ahead and store this empty view here. And the next thing that we will be needing is actually a Dmx sheet. So I'm going to click here, and in the comment tab, I will open Dmx. Let me just adjust this a little bit so that we see just the right information. So I won't be needing 3D because, like I said, I just need a fixture that has some Dmx channels that I can use for testing. So it wouldn't really make sense to have 3D open. And even if I open 3D, I won't find my fixture here because there is no 3D. I didn't add any 3D to this. So let's go ahead and open our fixture sheet, which is, of course, where I would find my fixture. I'm going to select this fixture and I would say full. And obviously it's working. You can see it on the Dmx sheet. So yeah, so the simple fixture that I built is working perfectly fine. Now, obviously it doesn't have any other attributes. So let's go back and let's create, let's delete this actually. Let's go to patch and let's go to fixture types and let's delete this. So now we know that it is working. Oh, I cannot delete it because it's already patched. So I have to remove it from the patch, and in the fixture type, I can then delete it. I deleted it because I want to build a proper simple moving head. Now we will build a moving head that has, like I said again, we will not do anything in 3D yet, but we will build a moving head with some attributes that we can use. So let's create insert new fixture type, and again I will call it Luke. Actually, I don't have to call it Luke. I don't know why I'm trying to give my name there, because I can give my name over here in the manufacturer because I'm the one who's building it. So spot. Let's give spot AAA. So let's once we have this fixture, empty fixture, let's go ahead and edit it. Again, we are greeted with this Dmx modes. Now we have the default Dmx mode. I'm going to label it as standard because I want to be slightly professional. So standard. So we have a standard Dmx mode. If you want to have more, or if your moving head has more modes, you can go ahead and add more modes. But for now, I will stick with standard. So once I open standard Dmx mode, I will have Dmx channels, relations, and FD macros. Don't worry about these two. We will first look at Dmx channels. So in the Dmx channels is where I would add my Dmx channels. By default, there is already one Dmx channel. Let me go ahead and add maybe 6 Dmx channels. Let's say dimmer, pan, tilt, and then R, G, and B. So red, green, blue. So we have 6 Dmx channels. Again, the first thing that I would do is I would give my attributes. So the first attribute I would like to have dimmer, let's say, and the second one is pan, and next is tilt, and then color RGB. So what you can also do is here you can type in the filter, because grandMA3 software comes with close to 300, 297 attributes. So I can just use a search tab for this. So I type color RGB and select R, G, and B. So once we have that, I'm going to come to course and I will give some Dmx channels. So dimmer is my first Dmx channel, pan is my second. Let's make it a little bit more interesting. I'm going to have a fine channel for my pan. So why not? So tilt is 4 and tilt fine is 5, and color R red it will be 6, 7, and 8. So once we have that, that's pretty much it. I mean, there are a couple of settings that I should be setting, but let's not do anything else for the moment. Let's have our attributes and the Dmx channels. Let's see if this is working in the first place, and then we will come and take a look at other options that we have. So let's close it, and I have my spot AAA, and in the new fixture, I will patch this one. Like I said, again, you will probably have to close the show file, close the patch, and then open it back when you build a new fixture. So let's go to menu, patch once again, and insert new fixture, and you will find your spot AAA with Dmx footprint of 8. So let's select it, and yeah, let's leave the patch as it is, and let's say apply. So let's close this and save changes. Let me see if there are any questions. So we've been stuck at the same name, editing up to loop bar. Okay, I'm gonna dismiss that. Perfect. So sorry about the pause. So let's go back again. I just wanted to make sure that the stream is working fine. So let's go back here, and like you see, we have our fixture. And like you can see that there are some more attributes that are active now. So let's select our fixture, and in the Dmx sheet, you will see our the Dmx channels. Thanks a lot for everyone for confirming it that the stream is working. Let's move on to the software. By the way, if you have any questions so far, please do let us know. So we have the fixture, and let's see if the dimmer is working. So yes, the dimmer is working. I can see it in my Dmx sheet again. If you're wondering why my 3D is not open, obviously because there is no body, or there is no 3D that I've added into this fixture. So even if I say zoom to selection, I won't see anything, because in my fixture building, I didn't add any 3D fixture. So obviously it wouldn't make sense for me to have the 3D window open, but we can test it from the Dmx sheet. So in the position feature group, we have pan and tilt. Let's select that. Let's check if pan and tilt is working. So that's working perfectly fine. And then we've got the RGB, so that is also working. So that's nice. Now the thing is, there are a couple of options in the fixture building. Now, one of the options is about the grandmaster. You see, when I'm bringing my grandmaster down, I would expect that my dimmer also would go down normally, naturally. So that's not happening. And obviously, when I let's say clear, when I'm saying highlight, and I cannot see any highlight values in my Dmx sheet. So these are the kind of values that you are able to modify or set in the fixture sheet again. So let's go back to menu, patch, and the fixture types. And let's select our fixture and click on edit. And over here, so we have the dimmer attribute. So let's take a look at what options we have here. Let's leave the geometry aside for a second. We'll come back to it again. So we have the default value. So default value 0 for dimmer is perfectly fine, but the highlight value, this means when I click on highlight, I expect that my dimmer goes to 100%. So I'm going to give 100 over here. And low light, I don't know. Let's leave it as it is. I don't want to change anything on the low light for the moment. And then we have the master. So the master here tells whether or not, or let's say which of these attributes should react to the grandmaster or to the master. It could be group master or grandmaster. So in the master section, I will set it as grand. So this means when I bring down my grandmaster again, that would make or that would affect my this attribute, which is dimmer. So obviously, I don't want my grandmaster to affect my pen tilt or color. So I would leave it as it is. And then we have Dmx from and to values and so on and so forth. For the RGB, I would like it that its default values are 100% because the color, or in additive color, we need these values to be at 100 because they, in a way, influence my intensity. So once that is done, I am fine with it, and I can leave this. And let's, you don't have to reassert the fixture types. We can just close it, and let's see if it works. So let's select the fixture. Oops. Let's select the fixture, and let's see. OK, first of all, let's set the dimmer to 100%. Or whatever, and let's see if my grandmaster would influence my dimmer. So like you can see in the Dmx sheet that, by the way, this Dmx sheet is actually the true output. So whatever is your output, this you can see it over here. So whatever numbers that you read here are the exact Dmx values that are going from your Dmx port or from Ethernet, whatever. So obviously, when I'm bringing my grandmaster, the dimmer is being affected. Let's see if the highlight would work. So I'm going to bring the dimmer to, let's say, 50% or whatever, and let's, oops. OK, let's set the, I don't know why this was not set. I think that was supposed to be 100%. Let's go back to patch and fixture types and edit. What a mistake. I have, instead of setting the default values, I have set the highlight value. So obviously I don't need it. So I'm going to set default values as 100%. Why not? Also for highlight, I want 100%. So let's leave highlight as it is, and let's go back and check if it's working. So, yeah, I think my highlight is on. So the RGB values are 100%, and when let's say if I set the dimmer to 50 and let's set the color to something else, something like this, and let's see what happens when I switch on the highlight. So although my dimmer is actually 50, you can see that my, because I'm using highlight, my dimmer is 100% and color RGB is 100% as well. So any questions so far? If you guys have any questions, please do let us know. I will wait for 1 minute, one quick minute, because there is a delay in the stream. So if you have any questions, please do let us know, and then I would answer them. If not, then I will move on with the webinar. So I suppose there are no questions. So then we can move on with these topics. So I have my fixture. It's cool. I've got my pan fine, tilt fine channels, the RGB dimmer, and so on. But how can I have my 3D? How can I see 3D? Because it would be nice to have some 3D view as well, of course. So to do that, what I would do is let's go to menu again, and then patch, and the fixture types. And for this fixture, what I would now do is we would go into geometries. In the geometry, you will find a basic geometry. It's a default geometry that you would find here. Now this geometry, we can label it as base. Oops. So in the base, when I open the base, again, take note of the new object line and merge children. Make sure this is open and this is enabled. So in the base, I would add another geometry because, like I said, when we were looking at the structure of the fixture, we saw that we had a base to which there is a yoke and to which there is a head and inside which there is a beam. So we have to build our fixture also in the similar manner. So we've got the base in which I will add, let's say, another, let's say, axis, because this is supposed to be my yoke. That should be an axis. The geometry type should be an axis. And inside which, some moving heads have some rare moving heads I've seen that have one base but two different yokes. So in that case, you would create another geometry here that would again be another axis. So then you will have one moving head with two yokes, but that's for rare case scenario. So we would open yoke now, and inside yoke we would want to have another geometry, which is my head, which is again having an axis. So I'm going to set my geometry type as axis. So let me go ahead and label it as head. And again, inside head, we have now the final thing, which is the beam. So, yeah, we have some geometries that we have created. There are some geometry types. Like I said, again, base is the basic geometry, which is the base of the moving head, and we have the yoke, which the geometry type would be axis because it has to move, and then we have the head, inside which we have the beam. Instead of beam 1, I would just label it as beam. Now, we have the geometry type here, and then we have the models. So obviously the models, they are, I don't know what they are, but we will take a look. I have no idea what these are. So let's come to the next one, which is the position. So we've got the position X, Y, and Z, and we've got the rotation and some other attributes. Now, these model here, what they are telling you is they're actually referencing to this tab over here. So if we go to models, you will see that we've got some models here. Let me go ahead and add the fourth model. So these are the ones that are referencing to these ones. So let's label, so this one is axis 1. So let's label this as my, actually, let me delete all of them. So obviously then you would not find anything here. So if I create 4 models and let me label them as base, yoke, head, and beam. You might be wondering, what is geometry and what is a model? So geometry is just an object that you're creating in the software, and to this object you have to give some model. You have to give some 3D object reference. So for that reason, we have then the models. So again, to this base object, I will give the base. To the yoke, I will give the yoke, and to the head, obviously the head, and to the beam, I would give beam. So we have some references now. Now we need an actual 3D model. So we don't have a 3D model. So how do I get it? Well, the grandMA3 software comes with some built-in 3D meshes, 3D models. So for the base, I will right click here and you can find the base underscore 3ds. So this is a default mesh that comes along with the grandMA3 software. So I'm going to select this one for base, and for yoke, I will select the yoke 3D file. And for head, I will select head. By the way, if you're building your own moving head and if you have your own 3D file, of course, you can right click here and go to new, and you can import it from the directories inside your computer or your USB stick. So, oops, I don't need this. Head is head. I'm going to use the inbuilt file. By the way, if you're using or if you're using any 3D software, the format of the file should be .3ds. So .3ds is the 3D file that the grandMA3 software is able to accept. Yeah, so in the beam, I will give the beam. Since there is no beam, I will just add this as cylinder. So that's another built-in model. Now we have to give the size of these objects, because at the moment they are not at the right sizes. So I mean, we have the geometry models, geometries and the models and the references and everything, but we have to place them properly because yeah, I mean, they are, like you see, they are 0.001 meters in length, width, and height. So obviously they are not the right sizes. So I'm going to set my length here for the base. I'm going to set this as 0.310. Now, how do I know that? Oh, I have a question. How to change type? Somehow I did wrong. Choose geometry instead of axis. You mean over here? Think you can do it. Well, I think you will have to oops it. You'll have to delete it and add the new geometry. So yeah, Johan, I think you'll have to delete your geometry and then add it once again. So yeah, like I was saying, we have 3D models, and I was trying to set the dimensions of these objects. Now, for the base, I'm setting this these dimensions. How do I know this? I was just experimenting with them. You can also try to experiment with them. Also, if you noticed, when I set the length, it automatically set the dimensions for width and height. So if I set this as 1, everything is then automatically adjusted based on the ratio. If I don't want this to happen, I can just click on dimensions follow ratio. I can just disable this. So for now, I'll just disable this. So we can just set our base dimensions first. So I have the length is 0.310. And the width for this would be, again, 0.310. If you want, you can take a screenshot of this, or you can try to experiment with this. I mean, you can take a look at other fixtures that are built into the library, and you can see what kind of dimensions they are using. So 0 for head. And for beam, we can use 0.080. Again, these numbers I was just experimenting with them, and I found that these are right, but you can change them as well. Now, the thing is, once I set my dimensions, I can actually turn this back on, because then if I were to change something over here, let's say 0.4, what would happen is that would automatically the right term is properly proportionate them. That would automatically increase them in relevance with the number that I'm using here. So if I say 0.4, take a look at how much the height would change to. So it would try to maintain the ratio as it is. So that's the reason I would put it back on. I would enable the dimensions follow ratio option. So yeah, once we have that, so I think everything looks nice, right? I mean, we've got the geometries, we've got the models and everything. That looks nice, but we have to also tell these attributes to which 3D model they belong to, because if not, I mean, we would have the 3D model, we would have the geometries and everything, but they would not be referenced anywhere, or they would not be referenced to the attributes. So for that reason, I would come to the Dmx modes, and I will set my attributes over here. I will set my geometries over here, sorry. So for dimmer, dimmer is obviously coming from the head. So I would set it to head, and the pan action is taking at the yoke. So I would set it as yoke, and tilt, color RGB, everything is, again, everything, like I said, the whole magic happens in the head. So I would keep everything as head, except for this one. So once that is done, how to implement Prism and Frost in 3D. I will not be talking about it at the moment, but you can maybe send us an email to tech.support.asia@malighting.com, and we could reply there, because in this webinar, we would like to build a very simple moving head, something that just works with while I'm testing or so. So we will focus on that. So once we have this, I think everything looks great for me. So we can go ahead and close this, and yeah, everything should work as expected. So now we are finally eligible to have the 3D window open. So let's take a look at that. So 3D, and So we have looks like we have a 3D body over there. Let's try to zoom to selection and let's see what we have there. Okay, let me zoom back and let me increase the height of this to 5 meters, and then let's zoom to selection. Looks like I have a 3D body, but it's not what I want. I mean, yeah, I mean, I can see that there is some base and so on. There is a light coming out. Everything is cool. I don't know if it would change to the color. It's not changing to the adjusting to the color. It's probably because my highlight is on. Let's bring the dimmer to 100% and let's try to adjust the color. So it's adjusting to the color. That's nice. What would happen if I change the tilt? So tilt is obviously not working, and let's change the pan. So pan is also not working. So also this moving head looks like all the geometries are in one place. So there is something obviously wrong with this. So let's go to menu patch once again. So how do I, or what is wrong with this? Over here, if we go to geometries, you would see that all our geometries are placed in one place. So or they're all in one location. So obviously that cannot be true because the base, the yoke, they have to be adjusted at the right positions. So I'm going to go ahead and set some dimensions here. Again, how do I know this? Like I said, I was just experimenting with them and I figured that these are the right, probably the right dimensions. So I'm going to say minus 0.140 for, so I'm going to leave the base at 0. So obviously that will be my base. So my yoke will be over here and head over here, and the beam can be at minus 0.225. So so that should be fine. Let's go and take a look at other options that we have here at the same time. So we've got the power consumption, luminous intensity, and so on and so forth. I'll bring the color temperature down to 3000. Yeah, I think if not for that, everything else looks great. Maybe beam radius can be a little smaller. Again, these are the things that you can experiment with, so you can see what fits right for your moving head. Oh, this is not a wash, so I'm going to set my beam type as spot because that's what I want to build. So that should probably work fine. So let's go back now and let's see if that is working. So I'm going to close this and save the changes, of course, and clear. No, again, it looks like it is at the right location, but the sizes are not right. So let's go to menu, patch, fixture type, select the fixture, edit, and into the models, or into the geometries. I think I have given the wrong dimensions somewhere. The height is 0.120. Okay, I think that's the one that is wrong. So let's go back. This is the thing that I like about doing things on live. I mean, when something goes wrong, oops, when something goes wrong, you are then able to fix it, and then you have the opportunity to see how these things can be changed. You see, I made 0.120 and everything else changed to 0.120. I should have noticed that. So let me disable it, and 0.310 and 0.310, and let me enable that back. So again, let me triple check if that is fine. So looks like I have the right dimensions, at least now. So let's close this and go back. Finally, we have a moving head that looks similar to our real life moving head. Okay, let me zoom to selection. Oops. Let me select that fixture and zoom to selection. Okay, so let's see if the dimmer is working. So I say full, so dimmer is on. Let's check. I think my, okay, highlight is not on. Let me change the color. So obviously the color is working. Let's check if pan and tilt is working. So tilt and pan are not working. I wonder why. By the way, guys, I know it's 4:59. We said the webinar would end at 1 hour. But since we had some network issue, I would like to continue the webinar for another 15 minutes. And then, yeah, I don't think we will have enough time for the GDTF for today. I will see if we have time, but we will try and cover this in the next webinar. So for the moment, let's see why pan and tilt it's not working. So let's go into menu, patch, and fixture types, and edit. So, I mean, I think the geometries are right. I've got the geometries numbers right. I've got the models right and everything, and we've got the Dmx modes. Now, the thing is, how can or where can I define how much of a tilt and pan rotation spin should take place? I mean, how much should the pan be? How much should the tilt be? So we have a place for that as well. These are called as the physical values. So for pan, let's select pan and let's scroll to the right a little bit. And then you will find the physical values here. So this is where I have to give the actual dimensions, the physical dimensions as to how much it should pan or tilt. So in the physical from, I would give as, so let's assume that typical moving head does about 540 degrees of pan. So I'm going to say from is -270 and 2 is +270. So that is in the end, you have 270 plus 270, that is 540. And then we will try to give this as -135 and this as 135 for tilt. So once I have that, let's see if that would work. So let's close this and leave patch and save. OK, it looks like it is working. Let's clear everything and let's check once again. Now, obviously, it's not facing me. It's not facing the actual camera. Let's see what's happening. So let's select the fixture and let's say full. And it's pointing somewhere else. It's not pointing to the home position, the regular home position. That would normally be a physical, in a physical value that would be 50 and 50. So what is happening here? Obviously, my default physical values were not given. So, but if not for that, my tilt itself is working fine. And I have got the color. Oops. That's working fine. So if we give our physical, the default values, I think our fixture is almost close to perfect for what I wanted to build. So the default values for pan and tilt should be 50. So now if I were to close this and clear everything, it should stay at the home position. So that looks perfect now. So that is how you can build a basic fixture type with, again, I'm just using dimmer, pan tilt, pan fine and tilt fine with color RGB. You can go ahead and also take a look at over here. You can come to wheels and you can try to add wheels. You can try to add a new Dmx channel that is color wheel and try to see how you can reference it to the wheels. So yeah, this is how you can build a basic moving head in a grandMA3 software. Now, you can see that we've got a lot of options, but honestly, it's not confusing because when you have a lot of options, it's important that you know what you need to build a basic fixture. So again, like I was saying at the beginning, with the technology that is getting fancy and fancier, we have the demand to build a fixture building platform that is, let's say, capable of building a simple fixture like a par can, and that would also give you the option, or that would also have the features to build something as complex as a moving head with multiple instances. So that is what we have here. We have so many options, but if you see, the process was straightforward. Yes, we went a little bit back and forth. I went to my grandMA3 software, and then I went back to the patch with the fixture types and so on, and then I went back to my views. But this is because, so you know how to, or if you're missing something, these are normally the most common things that you would be missing. So that's the reason we went back and forth on this. So yeah, so this is how you would build a fixture on a grandMA3 fixture type on a grandMA3 software. Let's see if we can build a similar fixture on GDTF quickly, because we have not much time. let me stop sharing for grandMA3 software and share just my my browser. So let's go to gdtf-share.com. If you don't have an account yet, go ahead and create one. So I will open a builder, and so yeah, I have my builder here. Let me log into it. So this is how the GDTF builder would look like. If we want to build a basic moving head, actually you can start off with the moving head here. You don't have to start with a completely empty file. I mean, you can start with an empty file, but if you click on the moving head on the template fixtures, that already has certain parameters that are already set and kind of saves our time. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and click over here. So moving head and manufacturer again. I'm going to say as Luke, and moving head is spot. This time I'm going to label it as let's say ABC. So once we have that, if you want, you can go ahead and fill these details as well. If not, you can go to the geometry, and in the geometry, like you see, you have the basic things, like you've got the base inside which you've got the yoke and so on and so forth. So these kind of things are already done in the grandMA3 software itself. If you want, you can adjust these dimensions and everything. But for the moment, what I would do is I would probably just adjust my beam. The beam has different kind of settings. So first of all, the beam, I would like to have not an LED type, let's say a discharge lamp, and then the luminance flux, let's add 10,000. The color temperature is 3000. And the beam angle, beam diameter, let's put that to 40. And beam type as spot. Again, like I said at the beginning, you can experiment with these, and these are the ones that I was playing around with. So with these settings that I have, I can go ahead and go to physical descriptions. This is where I can add my emitters and wheels. This is where you would add the color wheel and gobo wheel and so on. But let's just see if I can make a simple fixture with RGB and pan and tilt. Now, if I go to DMX, I would have dimmer. If you look at the name, it says beam underscore dimmer. So in the dimmer, I have the resolution, which is 8-bit. My dimmer is simple. It's just a simple 8-bit dimmer. So if you want, you can change it to 16-bit, and then you would have the option of, let's say this is enabled, that you can change this this value. Now, if you're not familiar with any of the options here, the nice thing is that you have this info icon here. So at any point, let's say I don't know what move in black is, I can just click here and it gives you the information about move in black. If you want further information as to how this affects my moving head and so on and so forth, you can click on I. It would then take you to the actual wiki page and it would give you much further description. So yeah, and then we've got the Dmx brake and so on, and the default value and the highlight value. So you can have these values over here. Again, since I'm using the template moving head folder, the moving head file, all these kind of things are already done by the template file. But if I don't want highlight, then I can just disable it. Or if I want highlight, I can set it to whatever value I want. So here it shows 255, which is obviously the 8-bit number. But if I want to talk in terms of percent, I can also change it to percent by clicking on this right arrow here, and yeah, you would have these values. And then we have the logical channels. By the way, if you're not familiar with what logical channels are, what channel functions are, what channel sets are, and so on and so forth, don't worry. If you have an e-learning account, if you don't, you have to sign up now. But if you do, in the coming few weeks, at the moment we are working on another course that is related to building fixture types in grandMA3, and there's a huge documentation that my colleague Daniel is putting up, and this course will be available for you in another couple of weeks, hopefully before the mid of June, or at least at the beginning of June. We should have something ready in the e-learning. So if you don't have an e-learning, go ahead and create an account. Send a request to your distributors that you need an e-learning account. But if you have an e-learning account, you will be automatically signed up for this course. So yeah, we've got logical channels and so on. I won't be touching any of this. So if you go to pan, we've got these values. So I'm going to say add channel. And over here, I'm going to, so I want to add color RGB. So I would set geometry as not base, but as head, because the RGB is inside the head like we just spoke, and attribute is not dimmer. So if I just click here, it opens another pop-up, and then you've got feature group and feature. And again, all of these things will be explained in the course of the e-learning. So I'm just going to select the feature group as color and feature as RGB. And here I will choose color, add RGB. So, oops. So yeah, over here, I'm going to click on color red and say OK. And then I will add another channel as in the head. And again, color and RGB, oops. And I will choose green and say, OK, by the way, automatically the GDTF builder assigns the next available course address, the Dmx address. So another one, the last one, that is blue. So feature group is color and feature is RGB, and let's use blue. So say OK, and we have this moving head. So a default moving, a simple moving head. So the one thing that I would change here is add some default values, because these are additive colors. So in the head, I will change the default value as 100, and maybe we can also add some highlight value. Why not? So I'll do that as, oh, sorry, that's 8-bit. So I'm going to change it to 255. And for green, again, default value is 100, and highlight value would be 255. And blue, default value again 100, and the highlight value is 255. So once we have that, we can go to macros, and then in the summary we would be given the summary of our moving head or fixture. And once we have that, I'm going to say upload, and it would then show me the manufacturer name, which is my name, and then the name of the moving head, spot ABC. You would have to give some form of revision name. So for the moment, I'm going to say testing GDTF. So I'm going to say OK. And what it would then do is it would then upload the file into the GDTF library, as well as it's going to download a copy of it in your computer. So I'm going to say save file, and in the GDTF, if I log in the fixture share, if I were to type my name, I would then, oops, I have two accounts. So then I would find the revision, the testing GDTF file. So since I've already downloaded it, since I don't want to clutter GDTF with these testing files, I'm going to delete it because I already have this file. So let's see how we can import this file into our grandMA3 software. Let me stop the live for a second so I can open my Explorer. So share, and then so when you open, when you come to C, program data and ML lighting technology, you will then see these folders. And let's go to our grandMA3 version 113, because that's the one that we are using. And over here, I would go to shared, and then we have the lib fixture types. Oh, by the way, this would be downloaded into the download. So first, let's go there. So let me copy that or cut it. And then let's go to 1.1.3 shared, and then lib fixture types. And here I would put it in the user. I have another one, the one that I was using when I was preparing for this webinar. So once you paste it here, let's go back to our grandMA3 software. So in the grandMA3 software, now let's go to menu again, patch. And let's go to, we can actually insert a new fixture here. If we go to user, you would then find the fixture that we built, spot ABC. We can then, if you scroll to the right, it would also give you some information. So we can select it and let's give, 1.9 is fine. The fixture ID is 2. So let's say apply and close this, save changes. Now let's select our fixture. Let me bring the 3D down a little bit. Let's select our fixture and let's set it up at a height 5. Let's move it to the left a little bit. So we have our fixture. Let's see if it is working. Let's say full. So we have some dimmer intensity coming out, and the default values are for some reason set to 39. We can adjust it, of course. If we have a problem like we just saw earlier, we can make changes. Sometimes this could happen. We can come here and make the changes over here. So the default values are not 39. They should be 100. So let's do that, and that should be fine. That's OK. So looks like we have good moving here. Let's check the position. And there you go. So that's working fine. So yeah, this is how you can build a basic moving head in GDTF. Obviously, it took much lesser time on the GDTF. It was pretty straightforward. It was quite fancy on the GDTF builder. So yeah, I would encourage you to take a look at that as well. And also the grandMA3 fixture builder. So I hope that was helpful. I won't be prolonging it too much now. If you have any questions, please do ask. If not, we can then end this webinar for today. So shared email. I didn't understand this question. I don't know if it is a question or a comment. Shared email. I think you're looking for a copy of this webinar. A copy of this webinar will be sent to you through your distributors. So if you need a copy of this webinar, please be in touch with your distributors, or you can send us an email and we will send it to you as well. So since we have no more questions, I would like to thank everyone for attending this webinar. I hope that was helpful and informative about building fixtures, or at least understand how the structure of grandMA3's fixture building is. And so yeah, if you have any questions, of course, you can always send us an email, and we will see you soon in the next webinar. Take care and stay safe.